It was the screams that kept me up at night. Not the kind you hear, but the kind you feel. The ones that burrow under your skin and make the hair on your arms bristle. The ones that tug at your soul like icy fingers. I remember that night too well. The darkness and that damn window. The night started off routine, at least for those of us who spent our weekends poking around in places no one wanted to remember. I love old buildings. Each warped floorboard and crumbling brick carried stories. And if you weren't careful, you could become part of one. And that's what happened this night. Walking up to the old asylum was like every other urban exploration we'd done. The place loomed in the dusk, windows staring down at us like blind eyes, and every rustle from the overgrown parking lot made my pulse jump. "Is this the place?" Kyle asked, a voice stretched in a lazy surfer drawl. His tangled auburn hair fell over his face, moving only when he flicked it aside with a jerk of his head. "That's what Google Maps said," I replied. "It's a dump, bro." I snorted. "So is every place that we explored. Besides, this is our first insane asylum." Kyle gave me a look, serious for once. "You can't call it a insane asylum, bro. Gotta be respectful, you know. It's called a psychiatric hospital." "A what?" "It's a psychiatric hospital. You can't say insane asylum. It's just not cool, bro." I gestured at the parking lot. Nature slowly swallowed the concrete in pain. Who am I going to offend? The ghost? He shrugged, but his eyes darted towards the dark windows. "Maybe." I ignored him and checked my gear. "You got the EMF reader?" "Yeah." "Alright, let's go." I motioned for him to follow, and together we picked our way through the entrance. I jammed a rock in the door to keep it from closing and flipped on my camera. The night vision painted the world in eerie greens. Kyle switched his on too, and for a second, our faces looked like corpses, eyes glinting black. Navigating by a grainy camera screen was hell. Half the time it meant bruises and tripping over unseen junk, but you never know what you catch if you didn't have your camera going. And if it took one time to prove to yourself that the shadows could hide anything, then you had to record everything. The hallway inside stretched on, doors lining the walls like rotten teeth fading into a thick, impenetrable darkness. I stared, squinting into the void. Had something just moved down there? A crash echoed behind us. I spun, camera jerking, but the room was empty, at least as far as the night vision reached. "Did you hear that?" My voice sounded smaller than I meant. Kyle's face, caught in the green glow, looked tight and pale. His eyes were too wide, jaw clenched so hard his cheek twitched. I swallowed. "Let's move forward." That's when the rock slipped from the door and it slammed behind us. The sound shot through me like an electric shock. I spun, heart pounding. "What the hell, man? Open the door and make sure it stays open." Kyle yanked on the handle, his breast rasping in silence. Nothing. He shoved harder, shoulders shaking, but the door didn't budge. "It's not moving, bro," he managed, voice thin. I shoved him aside and tried myself, twisting, pushing, bracing my shoulder. Nothing. The door might as well have been welded shut. My skin crawled. There was only supposed to be 2 entrances, and the other was buried under years of debris. We were stuck. "Let's look for another way out." My voice trembled despite the effort to sound calm. Kyle started. "Didn't they say?" "Yes, there's only way in." "And you were told?" "Yes, Kyle, I know, but the door." "Kyle, shut up," I snapped, fear scraping out my words. He opened his mouth again, but that's when I heard it. A scream that cut through the darkness and froze me in place. It wasn't just loud. It was inside me, rattling in my bones. I swung my camera to the end of the hallway. The blackness seemed to shudder. On the screen, something flickered at the edge of the light. There, and was gone. I moved forward, one shaky step at a time. Every sense turned to the empty dark. Kyle hovered behind me, his breath short and fast. A door creaked down the hallway, my heart hammering in my ears. I raised my camera, holding it like a shield, and called out, "Who's there?" Silence. Kyle whispered, "Dude, let's get back." The EMF reader suddenly screeched to life, spiking red. We both stared at the blinking lights, paralyzed. A faint tap, tap, tap came from the room on the right. I forced myself forward, pushing open the door with the toe of my shoe. The window in the far wall was cracked open, and a draft rattled the old blinds. I heard another sound, a low chuckle, half stifled. I turned, camera up. Someone lunged out of the darkness, shrieking. I screamed and stumbled back, dropping the EMF reader. Kyle shrieked beside me. The figure stopped dead and burst out laughing. The voice was familiar. "Oh my God, you two look like you saw a ghost," my Aunt Maggie said, pulling off a cheap plastic mask and doubling over. Kyle and I gaped, struggling to breathe. "What the hell, Aunt Maggie?" I gasped, adrenaline making my voice shake. She wiped tears from her eyes. "I couldn't resist. Your mom told me you'd be here tonight. Figured I'd give you a real story to tell." I managed a shaky laugh, feeling a weird mixture of relief and annoyance. "You nearly gave us a heart attack." "Good," she grinned. "Serves you right for breaking in abandoned buildings." She moved past us towards the door, jiggling the handle. To my surprise, It opened easily. "Door's not even stuck," she said, smirking. "You boys just need to pull harder." We followed her out of the hallway, trying to catch our breath. I glanced over my shoulder just once. From the darkness behind the cracked window, something moved. A pale hand pressed against glass. Just for a second, then vanished.